There he
in my
is,
files.
live
What's going on,
and
guys?
in person, the famous Tom Storey.
I'm sorry to
like
let you
it.
down. This is what it is.
Okay. Can you
Don't worry. I think we're the ones will be disappointing you today. So don't worry.
if you don't
We'll
mind
do plenty of
signing
that.
off so we can get a real guest, that would be great. Thank you.
Yeah, give me a sec. I'll make some calls.
Awesome. Hey, nice to meet you. Oops,
Yeah, you too.
how's it going?
Going well. No complaints over here.
Yeah, I mean,
How about you guys?
if you're a realtor in Toronto right now, it's good times. If you
You know,
have
you'd
some
think-
inventory.
Yeah, you'd think if you had the listings. Yeah.
Any off market deals you got right now?
I got one last week off market, which worked out really well for a buyer, but it's a war out there.
It
Sorry,
is a war.
Darryl, is that the right screen that I put on?
That is perfect. That is perfect. So while we're already into it, let's get this ball rolling. Good morning, everybody.
All right. Welcome, Tom.
Welcome.
Yeah, thanks for having me, guys.
Mr.
Thanks for
Tom
doing this. I don't know
Storey.
who Darryl has hostage in your family for you to be able to get on the show today, but we appreciate it, and they will be returned safely about an hour after the show once the file clears.
Once it is
Yeah.
uploaded into YouTube, we will release your family. Be quiet.
No, guys, I'm happy to be here. I love chatting real estate, and what you guys are doing is awesome. So happy to be here.
Awesome, cool. Yeah, thank you. We appreciate that comment. We try and do it a little differently. Just if anybody is actually listening and Mr. Isn't subscribed to Mr. Tom Storey's YouTube channel, it's great. He does a very different style than us. He's very professional, very polished. You may have seen him on the telly. He seems to be interviewed on CTV quite a bit. And I'm not sure where else, but you do seem to be out there. And I love your content. I love your videos. I'm a subscriber. That's how I found you. A lot of great stuff in there. And you do a very polished, wonderful looking show. So we're really happy to have you on here.
Awesome, man. I appreciate that.
Yeah, it's great.
We try to look at what other people are doing and what other, especially Toronto people, right? Real estate related podcasts or shows or channels, whatever. And we just kind of take a little bit from everybody and say, that's good, leave the rest. And we're left with this mess.
Claim it as our own.
Yep.
I like it. Hey, that's a good thing. You share everything you know, because then other people can take it and then make it better and then report back to you. That's what's so cool about giving away everything you know.
That's right.
Exactly.
And to take what we know and make it better doesn't seem like a very tough feat, does it?
Doesn't take long.
No,
it doesn't take long. We pretty much wrap it up in an hour every week.
Not much effort. Not much effort, and it's a stretch. But your last couple of videos were great. I liked the top 6 Toronto video that you did.
Thank you.
Obviously, the worst thing about Toronto is definitely the weather here. Although this year hasn't been so bad.
Fine,
It's been all right.
Not that I've been outside much, but the great news at my house is that the rink is actually frozen and skatable.
That's awesome.
It took a long time, and you know what? I don't advise it to anybody. It's a full-time job maintaining a rink. It's ridiculous.
What are you doing for the Zamboni?
Did you do like the full package, or you just do it from scratch and just throw water down with the tarp?
I don't do very many things properly the first time. So I built myself a frame and I put down a tarp. The tarp initially was too small. I bought a new tarp. I filled it with water. It emptied. I filled it again. It cracked. It has been a disaster.
Partially froze.
Partially froze, partially didn't freeze, too deep on one end. It is something that should be done by a professional, or preferably not at all. But we got to skate on it yesterday. I bought my daughter some cool LED colorful lights so she could have a little disco party out there. And everybody is happy until the thaw comes, which I hear could be next week. So anyways, it'll be short-lived. But it is...
Hopefully the thaw in the market is coming. That's what we're hoping for.
Are you really?
Absolutely. You like a market that's going to be like this or what?
I don't.
Me
Tell me
neither.
why.
This isn't good for anybody.
No.
Unless you're exiting the market and you win the lottery and you leave. That's good for you.
Yeah.
But anybody buying and selling in a reasonably close distance to each other is just going to sell high and buy high. Like, it's relative.
Yep.
So you're not really winning, right?
It adds stress. It adds obstacles, creates more problems than it solves. Money's great, but yeah, if you got to go buy somewhere, really, what are you gaining?
And you know what, too? I think obviously the issue to start this year, and I think we have to remind ourselves, like, every year in January, there's no inventory. This isn't new. It's just there hasn't been this much demand at the same time. That's what's, I think, different this year. And the issue is, like, I can tell you right now, we have 15 listings lined up ready for the market, waiting on them to buy first. So it's a domino thing. And I know a lot of other realtors I'm talking to, they have the inventory coming, but those people need to buy. And when they're one of 15 offers on a house, it just keeps pushing it back and back. And that's what I think is happening right now.
And these people that are waiting to buy, what are they waiting to buy? Single family houses, townhouses, condos? What is it? A mix of everything?
Right now, what we're seeing on our side of things is a lot of people is the condo trade up buyer to the freehold town or the semi-detached or detached property, seeing a lot of that. And we're advising them, listen, buy first because it's super competitive. That's what you should be doing.
Selling, right?
Exactly. And because the condo market has bounced back, and that's another topic we can dive really deep into. But like, it's like something switched when the year changed, because we last year at one point, I think I had 20 condo listings, and it was like every day I was giving people bad news. Okay, well, the last one sold and this is now what we're worth. And the analogy we were using for our sellers was, let's say in a NASCAR race, in the last 5 laps, the chances of you winning that race, if you're not in the top 5 race cars, are slim to none. So we were looking at our condo listings saying, like, listen, if we're not one of the best 5 available, we're not selling.
Yeah.
And
I like that.
Yeah, it was really interesting. And now it's like they're all selling like crazy again.
Well, in your last video, you were giving advice to people. Maybe not so much advice, but I mean, it makes sense. It's a little scary, but like you almost have to be ready to go firm, right?
Yeah, you have to be ready to go firm. And I think as an industry, we do such a terrible job kind of educating people before we ever go out and view properties. And I think that's something everyone needs to get better at. Like, no one should be stepping foot inside a house until they've had like a 45-minute to an hour consultation going over like everything that could happen. Like, they need to know the numbers. They need to understand what's going on, because going in firm doesn't mean you go in blind. It just means you're doing your homework before instead of after.
It's such a refreshing attitude. And I mean, I don't know how old you are. I'm assuming, you're younger than me. But I mean, it takes a different point of view than the old school guys to even say something like that, because most realtors, they don't want to do all that work for a buyer prior to them even walking into the house. Like, that's a lot of work, right?
It's so funny though, on the flip side, if you have that hour conversation and get them pre-qualified for the mortgage, set that up, show them what the months of inventory is, the list versus sale price ratio, go over all the closing costs. Like, you're literally just putting all their ducks in a row for them and explaining everything. It's going to take you a lot less time to actually sell them a property because they're properly educated. Where if you don't do that and just meet them, you're going to be running around. And the line that I tell every new buyer we talk to is, buying real estate is on the list of top 10 most exciting things you're going to do in life. It's also on the list of like, holy shit, like this is scary. Yeah. And if you don't know anything and you step foot inside a property and you love it, there's a million things that are going to go through your mind when you want to make an offer, and you're going to be so scatterbrained. We'd rather have people like calculated, because I think that's a competitive advantage, especially in a market like this.
Now, let me give the reality here, just because you and I are working in the market and Darryl's not.
Sure.
This is just the reality. This is not me. This is not my opinion, and I don't think it's right. The people who are getting the houses today in a lot of these multiple offers are the ones who did the least amount of preparation.
Yeah.
They're the ones who have no clue what they've just got themselves into. They just won the multiple offer. I don't know. I won though. What did I win? And you're like, oh my gosh, this is nuts. That's who gets the houses right now.
You're absolutely right. And what we try to tell people is sometimes losing on a house is not a loss, it's a win, because someone that's uneducated paid too much. And we also have to remember, if this is the first house you're bidding on, it might be house number 5 for them. And they're at the point of like, I want this house.
Emotion, stress.
I'm going to get this house. And you have to understand what you're up against. And yeah, you're right. A lot of the times the uneducated buyer wins. And what's so tough in this market is that then sets the benchmark. You want that condo building or that street, that's now the last sale. And the next sale is probably going to go higher. So at what point are you the irrational buyer just because you want something? It's a tough conversation.
I think it's absolutely amazing. Did you read about the house in Mississauga that had 70 offers?
I feel like I didn't hear that specific one, but I feel like this story happens
We do
every
this all
3
day long.
months,
We had
right?
56 this week,
56,
350 showings.
70. It's unfriggin'
It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter.
believable.
These stories are all over the place right now.
No, but
It's the market.
It's crazy.
But tell me, like, what has to happen for supply to catch up with demand now?
Let's hear it, Tom.
I don't think it can. It can't.
Tell us a scenario. Give us some hope. Give us a scenario that's plausible, that could work out to making this market come back to balance.
I'll tell you my favorite quote, and I'm totally stealing this. If you guys want to get him on the podcast, you should talk to him. His name's Keith Roy. He's from Vancouver. He's a very smart realtor. And he says this: everybody believes in affordable housing until it comes time to sell their own property.
I like that.
Okay.
Say that again.
So everyone believes in the idea of affordable housing until it comes time to sell their own property.
Oh, sure, yeah.
Okay,
Right.
so
Try being a developer.
right. So, the reality is the supply and demand is what's pushing the market. How much inventory and the absorption rate of how fast it's coming off the market. But the only what's pushing the market as well right now, and I think we have to kind of discuss this, is like the mortgage rates are silly low. And they're not going to be silly low forever, probably for the next 2 years, but not forever. Like the Bank of Canada lending rate went from 1.75 before COVID to now 0.25.
Well, hold on a second.
That's pushing a lot of this.
The lending rate has actually been silly low since I've been in the market, which is over 20 years, right? Like when I bought my first house, I bought it at a mortgage of 3.86%, which, I mean, maybe compared to today is ridiculously high. But in reality, to borrow money, that's crazy low. Crazy low. So, I mean, and I think we talked about it last week or the week before. Like, I mean, how fast can they move interest rates up? How long will it take to get back up to 3%?
Well, they have to move it very slowly. They have to be calculated with it, or they're going to cause issues for a lot of people. And I think they're well aware of that.
The stress test has already been trying to mitigate, some of that impact. So let's just say if they do and they remove the stress test, it may not have an impact on the demand. So it's like, does it have to go up to 7%? Does it have to go up to 8%? I don't think interest rates are as big of a story. I think they're huge, and they're obviously what people are, basing their decisions off of. But I think Darryl's right. I don't think the interest rates are going to climb up high enough or fast enough to make a change in what people's buying power is.
They can't without crushing the whole system.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the reality is I don't know if there's an answer to this, because this happens if you look at a 40-year chart of Toronto, and I'm happy to send you guys the one that I have, it's really interesting, through all the ups and all the downs, 1980 till today, we've averaged about 6.5% appreciation. Averaged.
So we've got this article up on the screen. I don't know if you can see it. Bewildering graphic shows how much Toronto's real estate market has changed in 10 years. Like, forget about 20, 30, 40. And they've got this.
Last 10's been crazy.
Like, look at this. Detached home, 450,000 to 1.24 on average. That's triple in 10 years. It's crazy. Semi-detached, 360 to 830. Holy mackerel,
2.5 times.
Like, a condo has gone up more than 2 times in 10 years. So I mean, is there an end in sight for this? With low interest rates, high demand, low inventory. I mean, I can call up article after article from this week that are showing, the prices are going crazy, the buyers are paying extra, the single, like, new homes are selling like crazy. And You read that from Build saying BILD build, the builders, whatever the hell that
Yeah,
stands
yeah.
for. But they're saying that normally they have 9-10 months of inventory of new product, and now they have 3 or 4 months, which you spoke to in your last video. So why don't you talk about that for a sec?
For the inventory levels.
Yeah, just like
Yeah.
what is it? Sales to
Yeah.
inventory
So
level?
what any buyer or seller should figure out before they get going on the process is any market you're in. I use the Toronto Real Estate Board stats, the TREB Market Watch that comes out every single month. That's where I pull my numbers from. And so let's say you want to buy a condo in downtown Toronto. So I would go to condo CO1 and I would look at those numbers. Then what I would do is I would go, okay, now we're going to base off December's numbers right now because that's the most active data we have. There was this many actively on the market at the end of the month, and this many actually sold. So active listings divided by sales gives you a number, which is the inventory level. And anything under the number 3 is a seller's market, meaning that if no new listings came on the market today, everything would sell in 3 months that's currently on the market if it was 3, right? If nothing new came, that's the absorption of how quick it's moving. It also means that for every 3 listings that comes to the market, one of them is selling in a 30-day period, but 2 are not.
Nice.
Which is crazy to go from 9-10 months to 3 or 4 for new home sales, which is condos, town, like everything new. But that's if you mix that with the fact that we came into the pandemic with a shortfall of housing, right? We were talking housing crisis and rental crisis, like it was a crisis. Then we had a pause. Then things went bananas, and like I just don't see an end in sight. And then on top of it, like Bank of Canada says they're going to hold these rates till 2023, right? And now we're in lockdown number 2. They're supposed to bring in 410,000 immigrants this year, and they can't even bring any in at least for another couple of months, right?
Yeah, that target won't be hit. So I think on the supply side, and these are all super hypothetical, and I definitely don't think they're going to happen. But I think on the supply side, a scenario would be obviously everybody right now. No one wants people in their house. I have a lot of sellers who are not buying and who are selling only, and they're refusing to put their house on the market right now because they're older, they've got vulnerabilities, they're thinking, I can't do it, I just don't want to deal with the stress, and I'm okay with listing in the spring, and I want to do this all when COVID is done. I have so many people who are just not reading the writing on the wall. I know, but that's the scenario that they're in. I think that there will be people who are going to hit financial hard times, financial hardships. I think that there's more. We just haven't seen that yet. I don't know what level it's going to get to. I don't think it's going to be drastic, but I think that there's going to be a significant amount of people who are forced to sell their principal residences because of their businesses failing, their jobs not being able to be, they can't go back to work after the work from home, whatever it is. And I think that there's going to be perhaps some government intervention. So again, not all likely. I'm not like, hey, this is what's going to happen, but it's certainly plausible. They did it in 2017. The ideas are, principal residence exemptions no longer being offered. The ideas are, stricter lending guidelines. The ideas are changes to the capital gains tax. Like these are all things that are thrown out there. And I think that all 3 of those things could be a perfect storm of a flood of inventory, which could hopefully solve the issue that we have right now. But I just hope something changes. This is brutal.
But then you have articles like this that say the mortgage deferrals fall sharply since worst day of COVID. Many resume payments. I mean, it's not even many. It's like basically all. I think it went from 17% of the portfolios being in some form of deferral to 0.8% now in deferral. Like that doesn't speak to, I mean, I would believe what you say over any article that I read, but I mean, the deferral cliff's not here. All they talk about in these articles is that the people that are affected most are the renters, right? People with, that own a house for the most part aren't really affected. And even if they are, I mean, in this kind of a market where you have 70, 56, 40 offers and the prices are going bananas, those people that were maybe on the verge of bankruptcy now all of a sudden have more equity in their home, right? Because the price just went up.
And also, so you mentioned 2017 with fair housing stress test, stress test was early 18, but like that rent control at the same time when they came with fair housing.
Foreign buyers tax. Yeah.
It's almost like the government likes to come in when things are going too good, when they're going up too fast. Never so much when they're not going so great. So you're right. Like how this year has started, you could compare it to the beginning of 2017, because 2017 from January till April 20th, when they made that announcement, the market went up 26%. That's not okay. Like, and I actually think fair housing did a lot of good. A lot of people, it didn't affect condos, at least in Toronto. It affected the suburb markets that were going crazy, and actually
York region.
Yeah, York. Like, so right
Durham.
now, Durham,
Not as much then, but York region, big time. That one.
They're doing way better than Toronto in terms of what's going on. Like, the one thing that I always say when I'm on the news, because it's my favorite thing, is like, you drive till you qualify. That's what people.
I like that.
But now people are going to start heading back to the city and be like, it's crazy out here. Like, I'm gonna head back because like, Toronto's competitive and busy and things are going nuts again, but not like what's happening in the suburb.
It's crazy. I have a friend who sells many condos, and he was telling me they just had a launch last week in Bowmanville, and on day one they had 350 worksheets. Okay, like in Bowmanville. First of all, they're building mid-rise buildings in Bowmanville now, which is just crazy in and of itself. But the fact that they got 350 worksheets in one day in Bowmanville really speaks volumes to the amount of demand out there right now. And the lack of supply.
You know what's interesting with condos is condos do really well in Toronto and Vancouver, but they do terrible in Halifax and Edmonton and Calgary and other markets across Canada. I don't think people love condos. I think like it's just that our freehold option is not affordable. So people have to, it's like you either buy a condo or you rent. Or in the investment side of things, that's why people love condos, because they know they'll rent out. But I think they're priced well compared to everything else, and they're located well.
Limited options, right? So 300,000, high 300,000s, the ones in Bowmanville are starting at. Where else are you going to get a condo at that price?
If you're retiring and you live in Bowmanville and you have an acre and a half that is now worth God knows what, what else are you going to do?
Very few of those people filled out worksheets.
Well, but like you guys were saying at the beginning of the show, like you also have to buy something else, right? Not too many people are smart enough to take their chips off the table and rent something until they're done, right?
Let's talk about that. I think, Tom, you said buy first. Your clients right now, that's your advice. It's stressful. You're in a situation where you don't know if you're going to get a house. If you end up selling and then you don't find a property, the market goes up. Big risk there, right?
Yeah. So we play worst case scenario with our clients to get them prepped for everything, right? So it's like, my main scenario right now is we are selling their condos, I'm listing their condos, and they're buying a house. That's my main scenario right now. So I want you to buy the house first, secure it. You're ready to go, right? We'll be pre-approved on everything based on the sale of the condo. And we always send whatever the condo price is very conservative to the mortgage broker to get the pre-approval on the house. Because I typically lower than I actually think I can sell it for, just to be safe. Then we run the scenario like, okay, I could sell your place first, but if we sell it and then it takes 3 months to buy because it's competitive, the prices keep going. So you're farther behind, which is exactly what you said, where I'd rather them buy first. Then we can get the condo prepped and on the market very quickly. And the good thing now is that condos are moving again pretty fast. So we can probably line up the closings. Even if we can't perfectly line up the closings, what would happen if you had to live somewhere else for a week? Do you have somewhere that you could go? And if the answer is no, are you open to the idea of bridge financing? But we can only get bridge financing if we have a firm sale on the condo. So I just run the scenarios of like, are you going to be homeless if this doesn't work out? And if the answer is yes, okay, let's rethink this. But I just don't want there to be surprises, because there's, the one thing we tell all of our clients is if you go through a real estate transaction and there's nothing that comes up along the way, be very nervous, because the day before closing, something's going to hit the fan, right? Like you want little hurdles, but you don't want big things to happen.
So my question is, and this is again, you said play worst case scenario. It's exactly what you have to do. And I ask people, and it's crude, but to me, it serves a purpose. you have two options here. You can either be broke or you can be homeless. Which one scares you most? Right? And if they say, well, look, I got, my dogs, I got, my mom taken care of. I can't be homeless. I have to make sure I have a place to go. And I don't want to have any issues that could go up. It's like, okay, well, if you end up selling first, there's a chance you could be homeless. You might have to rent. There might have to be temporary stuff. So maybe buying first would be a good option for you. Right. If they say, well, look, financing's really tight and I want to make sure that, the money's right and I'm not going to be in a position or anything like that, well, then maybe you need to sell first to figure out exactly how much money you're going to have. So you're going to know your buying power and see where your situation is going to be. But people, I'm not predicting the market, but I can tell you that this market is not sustainable. I can tell you that
No, it's not.
100% that we will not continue to do this. And most of the people I'm dealing with are selling houses, buying a house or a condo. So looking at selling first for a lot of people is actually a great option. And in 2017, we were doing rent back. So sell, close in 30 days, do a 6-month rent back. Because you do not want to sell with a 6-month closing right now and find out that your buyer can't sell their property for what they thought they could. Now they can't get financing and their appraisal is not going to come in. And you're going back on the market in 6 months, getting $200,000 less because there's no multiple offers anymore. Like there's a ton of risk we learned from 2017 and this market is identical. So it would be foolish for me to think that it couldn't happen. I'm not saying it's likely, but I have to like really tell people this because a lot of people will blindly tell their clients, well, just go sell your property. We're going to get a ton of money. I'm going to get you all these offers. And don't worry, he gave me a $50,000 deposit. We're good. Are you? Are you going to get the money on closing? You're going to make this other decision to buy something else? Are you going to get the money on closing? Do you know that for sure? I can give you lots of cases in the courts where people didn't in these markets, exactly just like this.
So, but
Yeah, something switches between when they sold and, if something happens, if government steps in, that could happen.
Right. So the only things that have slowed this market in the last, I don't even know how many years, have been weird outside influences like Wall Street melting down in 2007, 8, 9, whenever that was, right? The government here bringing in the stress test, which really didn't have that big an effect. I mean, it had a little effect. What happens here generally is like things from outside slow the market down. We figure out how to absorb them, and then we go back to the moon. Right. So I listen, I'm no genius, but if you look at this analytically, other than some weird, like even a pandemic that basically shut down the world did not really slow down the Toronto real estate market. Like I've been a big proponent in the last few weeks of a 905 land transfer tax to help boost the government's bank account. But
interesting.
But that's 2% more. Like, what effect is that even going to have? Right? Prices are going up more than 2% like every month right now or week. Right? So what actually can happen with this housing shortage crisis, low interest rates, huge demand, no supply, and at some point soon, a flood of immigration that we've never seen since World War II.
Darryl, what you just said, if podcasts were a thing 15 years ago, the same conversation was happening.
Exactly.
Right?
That's
like
my point.
So nothing's changed.
You can't stop this market. You cannot. I used to be in the lumber industry when I was a very, very young man 25 years ago, okay? I was in the lumber industry, and we used to say, this is crazy. Like, when is this going to stop? And I worked there for 8 years, and it just got crazier and crazier. And you know what stopped it for a brief moment? 9/11. Okay? 9/11 gave it a pause. And then it went back to Mars, right? And then I don't know what happened next, but again, a pause. Probably the Wall Street meltdown. Pause. To the moon again, right? And then I don't know. We'll have this conversation forever because we're in this wonderful melting pot of, like, the government knows real estate is their only answer to anything. It drives the entire economy. It's the only thing that's stable, and they push everybody towards it, right? I've got an article here that's amazing. While the world is in the midst of tech revolution, Canadians bet on real estate. which is amazing because we're spending, I think it's 38% of the investment has gone into real estate in the last year versus 27% going into manufacturing or tech that will help create better businesses to create more wealth. Like everybody is going, you know what? If I just buy a house and I borrow money at this ridiculous interest rate and I just sit here, I'm going to be a millionaire. Right? And they're right.
And it's all over North America.
But
we are not going through this alone. This is in every single city, province, state,
country.
Freehold, low rise, all that right now is on fire everywhere and they can't keep up.
But while you guys say it's unsustainable from the realtor perspective and maybe somewhat of an injection of realism, I don't see it without some pauses, but like really a pause that resets the pricing 5 to 10% and 3 months later is higher than that reduction. Like, is that even a pause? Like, is that a like, what is that?
It's a good question. Yeah, you're right. It always comes back. Whatever they do, whether it's government intervention or outside forces, like you talked about, there's always a pause of uncertainty. And then we kind of just get back to things, and then it jumps back up.
And it's not a long pause, right? I mean, look how long you guys took to figure out how to sell houses again.
Darryl, 1990 to 2002. That was 12 years before prices came back. Average price in Toronto. That's a long time.
What happened in 1990?
In 1990, interest rates had climbed. They had that big lending institution in the States that caused, major meltdown and then economic recession. And then prices basically stayed where they were. Inflation got back on track. Interest rates lowered until 2002 after the dot-com bubble and everything else settled. People said, I think we're in the clear. And then prices started going up again and finally hit their average price. My mom bought her house in 1986 and sold it in 2002 for the same price.
Right. So that goes back to what we talked about. What did the interest rates go to? Because it will take something like that, like interest rates jumping to 7% all of a sudden because they want to squash the market, right? It's going to take something monumentous like that again.
I think so. The example you just gave is perfect because that's really the only crash that we've seen in the last long time, right? And there's three pillars of what fundamentally moves the real estate market. There is interest rates, there's unemployment level, and there's immigration. Those are the big three. When that happened, all three weren't doing so good. Immigration wasn't crazy, interest rates were high, and unemployment wasn't great. Now all three are really strong or going to be strong with the fact that market's moving the way it is now and we don't even have real immigration. I'm sure you guys know who Benjamin Tal is. He's the chief economist for CIBC. I've seen him speak many times. He speaks with our company, and he always says, he's like, you think prices are expensive now? Just wait. Wait till everyone comes in. Wait till the borders open. Just wait.
I saw something yesterday, a YouTube video, I think it was, that said that 40% of the US dollars in circulation were printed last year. So there's definitely inflation. There's another guy I listen to on YouTube, Steve Soretsky out of Vancouver. Really smart realtor. I think he's more of an economist, if you ask me, than a realtor. But he says the same thing. Like, there's so much money printing. Like, maybe you don't feel like there's inflation, but if you own an asset or are looking to buy an asset, you see that there's definitely inflation, like rampant, right? I mean, try and buy a stock of Tesla.
Even in these small secondary markets that typically have no inflation whatsoever, even 2 years, some of the prices are doubling, right? And you're just like, how is this possible? Like Windsor's a good example of in the Southern Ontario kind of scene, right? Obviously, but even in other parts, Northern Ontario, small towns all throughout Canada, in the States, we were on a mastermind, I guess it's a couple of weeks ago now, and we're hearing just what other people were dealing with in big and small towns across the States, and everyone's got the same thing. They're just like, price increases are crazy. We've never seen this before and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, inflation's real. I think prices are just going up. It's just when I say sustainable, Daryl, I'm not saying like I think prices are going to come down and all of a sudden we're going to face this drastic whatever. I just feel like the reason that certain sales are hitting these high prices is because of 70 offers and all that kind of stuff too. And maybe that those are outliers. And I think that overall, this attraction of buyers. So let's just say someone gets $800,000 for a house in Oshawa, and then 6 months from now, there's less buyers out there. There's more sellers. It's a more balanced market. They do the same strategy at 600. They only sell it for 650. Did the market go down 150,000? No. It's just that particular market when that first property was sold was a little bit overheated, and that created that one price to be sold. And we saw that in 2017. And Tom, you're seeing it still to this day. You'll see a property. Why are they priced so high? Why are they still available? Let me do my background. Oh, they bought in 2017 February for $400,000 over asking on a bully offer, and now they're trying to get out because the use of the property isn't what they thought it was because they did no research whatsoever. They're selling with a different agent than they bought with. Obviously, I'm seeing this all the time, so it does exist.
And that, so the price growth that we saw in 2017, especially in Durham, and again, I'm a 416 guy. That's where I do all my business. But from what I saw, my aunt sold in 2017, did crazy on her house. I think it took basically until very recently for those peak prices to actually get back. Is that fair to say? Like, so it did take a few years. Like what the government did worked last time, depending on what side you're on and how you look at it, but it did work.
For sure. Yeah. York region, a lot of areas are nowhere close to that level still.
Okay.
So you start going up to like further away, King, East Gwillimbury, whatever, those areas that are way out there that people were just speculating. We're just like 10 acres for $2 million. That's a great deal.
Because Toronto's back in every asset class to what the peak was in 2017, and condos.
I think it was quickly. Yeah. I think it was over a year ago. Like every area, exactly. Condos. You know, so you're big into condos and I'm not. So it's like at the time it was like Darryl, we're the sale prices of houses. It's hard to sell. 18 beginning in 19. It's like everything's sitting. It's hard to sell. Price changes. Things are not going well. End of 2017, it was brutal. And I'm seeing all these condo people do really well, and they're all still selling and multiple offers. And you're kind of jealous. You're like, man, should have been in the condo game. And for the last, I guess, in 2020, it was like the one moment where the freehold agents are all like, ha ha ha, condo agents. Now you know what it's like. You have to deal with the same thing that we dealt with. And they're already out of the woods. They're already back onto this trajectory. 2021 condos are starting to sell again. And I think things will be okay.
Can I tell you a quick story just about last year with condos? So I didn't mean to specialize in condos, but for 2020, for CO1 and CO8 downtown core, our team ranked number 3 for resale condos in Toronto. So we did a good amount.
Yeah,
and
good for you.
So and I just say that not to be like, look at me. It's just because like we did enough to understand fundamentally what's actually happening and where people were at and what the mindsets were.
For sure.
And I took over more market share last year than I ever had before when times were not great. And time again, people would reach out and be like, hey, I know you specialize in this. I need your help. It's not like, hey, my brother's best friend's girlfriend's aunt is a realtor and she's just going to put it on. Like people really wanted a professional. And it was a great time for me to like put the foot down on the gas pedal. And we had our best year ever for condo sales last year in the worst condo market we've had in 10 years. So it's just interesting.
Because of your reputation. So that's exactly how it works. Good markets, 2017. And right now, people are going with the discount brokers, their brothers, their sisters, their family members, people who they have no idea if they've ever even sold a house, but they're like, oh, it's got to be easy. And they're leaving hundreds of thousands of dollars on the table. When the markets turn, they have to go to professionals like you and say, I don't want to take any chances. I heard it's not doing too well. I better go and talk to somebody who knows what they're doing, and they don't even think about talking to their uncle who just got their license or whatever. So yeah, you're right. That's good. And so hopefully you've built up a lot more market share, like you said, and that can carry on because that is exactly what people do in these markets.
And are you focused more on the listings or are you working with buyers? Because you were talking earlier about how you would deal with a buyer, which is very refreshing. Most people tend to shy away from buyers. I think everybody has this saying like, what is it? Live to list or die.
Oh, buyers are liars.
List to last.
List to last. Like,
yeah. So that is a reality. Like I run a team, and my job on the team, I'm the listing specialist, so that is where I spend my time. However, on the buying side of things, I do the consultations and I help with the offers, but I'm not the one physically going out and viewing the properties. I have team members that specialize in that and truthfully are better than me at it. And so we've really kind of figured out which lane we want to be in. So that's the way we run it. But the reality is buyers take 8 times longer than sellers. So just as a strictly business, I understand why people say list to last, because they produce more opportunities. You get to meet more buyers, you get better marketing opportunities. And the listing agent, if there's 40 offers, the listing agent's one of 2 sides getting paid, and one of the 40 of buyer's agents, right? So it's just simple math that most big time agents that hold market share are listing focused and have a team that helps with the buyers, that keeps it in the family.
This is what I was always told, is that if I want to make money in real estate and I want to like spend more time with my family, I got to get the listings, because when I get a listing, at the time it was about 30,000. I have 30,000 agents in the Toronto Real Estate Board. Now it'd be 60. 30,000 agents in the Toronto Real Estate Board working for me, trying to sell my listing. So I'm on the golf course, I'm at the birthday parties, I'm doing whatever it is, and all the other agents in Toronto are working for me to try to get that listing sold. But I think that there's some huge value in the bigger teams. They understand that buyers are super important because they are also sellers, and that there's a big shift in the last 5 to 10 years in direct marketing to buyers, buying leads, all that kind of stuff, getting more and more and more opportunities to convert people who eventually will be sellers or maybe already be sellers once they find the place to buy.
I don't want to go down a rabbit hole of this, but it's just the one thing I'll say is
we like rabbit holes.
Okay.
Okay, we got time.
Most people that are in the real estate space, selling properties, being a realtor, they're worried about all these outside factors, discount brokerages, Zillow, blah, 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 online lead gens. Who you should be worried about is the mega team. They're the real disruptor. They're actually the ones taking over market share. They're the ones.
I agree.
Like, take a look around. And to do a listing presentation, you got a great little presentation. It's just you by yourself versus whoever in your market. It's really hard to compete with their resources. So I think, like the mega team is the real disruptor in the industry. It's not the discount.
But there
broker.
will always be. So if you just look at market share, just so we are aware of this, the market share of the teams, it's very small in Toronto. It's growing, but like the top 100 teams. Okay, let's say they're all doing 200 transactions. That's 20,000, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's still only 20% of the business, because there's 100,000 transactions in the Toronto Real Estate Board. So they're growing, but it's still a very, 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 and there's not even the top 100 teams doing 200 transactions. I think it would be less than that if you average it out. But either way, that's still only 20%. So there's still a business. I don't want to deter people from getting their license.
No, not at all.
Be a single agent. You can do your 30 deals a year and be super successful, make a great living and enjoy your life. But you're right, Tom. That's it's hard to compete with somebody who's spending a lot of money on their marketing. And we won't get into specifics, but
I actually like that though, because what it shows you is there's still 80% of the pie left, if not more than that.
Exactly.
And what it shows you is most people, the realtor they pick is someone they were referred to or somebody that they trust. Like It's not because of the billboard. It's many factors, but it's not just that one. Like, people always think I get a bunch of business because I go on the news. I could maybe 5 deals in the past 5 years. That's not how I get my business. It's from repeat and referral and treating people like gold. It's not from marketing.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly.
So
seems like you do a good job.
Of rabbit holes, I wanna bring this up. I know from a realtor's perspective what obviously makes sense from a business perspective, but rent versus own, especially right now in the city of Toronto. Owning, listen, my business is to sell people lots of stuff to own, okay? So I don't benefit at all from saying this whatsoever. But I don't understand the economics of owning right now versus renting. Like, what? It seems to me you can be a lot freer on this planet where things change so drastically. You can have your equity available. It can do other things for you outside of your condo. by just renting, you can probably live in a nicer place, a bigger place if you rent. Anyways, can we have this discussion? Because
Never.
I put it up earlier. We didn't get to it because you guys went down some much more interesting topics. But Toronto condo buyers are paying an 87% premium to own instead of rent. And I've been doing the math for years. Like, it doesn't make sense to me to own right now. It makes a lot of sense to rent. But I'd love to hear both of your opinions. First, Tom's, because I'm sure I know TK's already. But let's take this from a non-realtor making money off the market perspective.
100%.
Okay, so first of all, there's nothing wrong with renting. It's a lifestyle choice, and you will get a better place, and you have more flexibility. And the rental prices are down 20% right now in Toronto, so there's lots of great options for you. Like, to be very clear on that. And most people get into the market and figure out, especially if they're new, they rent for a year before they get in and buy something because they want to know if they actually like it, and they want to know if they like the area and things like that. The one thing that I always look at is, okay, if you had the down payment, because the difference from renting to buying for most people is having the down payment. If you had the down payment and you rented, if that money's just going to sit in your bank and do nothing, like if you're a whiz in the stock market, by all means, go do your thing and make a great return there. And that would probably make sense for a lot of people to rent, right? But no matter how cheap your rent is, it's 100% interest. That's just a fact. It's just a fact. So on the owning side of things, I don't think this is a blanket statement across the world, but in our market, if we just talked about where prices have gone the past 10 years, the past 40 years, if we know and conservatively say, let's say they go up 3%, a really low number. And the way that mortgages work, especially at the rates they are today, is that 60% of your payment every month in the first 5 years, which is very interest heavy, is still principal payment. So that's a forced savings plan. And then on top of that, if you put down 20%, the bank's lending you the other 80%, and you're earning 3% on the money you're borrowing from them at 1.5%. So that's the way that I look at it, is that I think if you want your dream house, it certainly is not the first property you're buying. So you got to buy the first property that you might not aesthetically love, but in 3 to 5 years, you're going to love what it does for you, that you jump up to the next one. And then you jump up to the next one. That's the only path I see, because it's really hard to save at the same rate the market's moving if you're not in the market, because you're not leveraging the bank's money and you're not doing a forced savings plan that turns into equity. So that's just my thought on it.
So now, before TK jumps in, I don't know if you guys have read Robert Kiyosaki's book, Rich Dad, Poor Dad. You may or you may have not. Doesn't even matter. For me, it changed the way I look at things, like flip me on my ass. And I just want to throw this into it. Does it make sense to buy something to rent to other people, which that income then covers your expenses to rent something you like, or even covers your mortgage payment every month on a house you want to live in? Like, to me, that seems like it would make a lot more sense to get that growth, to use that down payment you have to buy something that generates more money. So Robert Kiyosaki's whole thing is like, an asset feeds you and a liability bleeds you, right? So for example, you buy a house, you're paying interest, you're paying taxes, you're paying maintenance, you're paying insurance, you're paying all these things. Then shit breaks down all the time, and you got to fix the roof, and you got the windows leak, and the air conditioning breaks down, and all of these things, they start to add up. Now, if you buy something and you rent it to somebody, now you have income generated to pay for maybe something else that you want, or maybe more than you could have afforded a couple of years ago. It takes a little bit more patience, but sorry, I wanted to throw that into the mix there.
I'll agree with both of you guys. Like, and I'll just say it simply: poor people buy houses, and most people are poor. So if you can't be diligent, like Tom is saying, and be a whiz in the stock market and save your money and do things over the next 30 years to ensure you're constantly beating inflation, beating the housing market, putting that money aside, saving it, and you're on top of things, and you're not going to touch that money, you're going to have less money at the end than if you just buy, put your feet up, work your 9 to 5, and save that money and ride the market, pay off the principal. And in the end, you will have more money than you would if you tried to come up with some creative financing ideas if you didn't know what you were talking about and had the wrong mindset. So both of you guys are right. It's just, Darryl, your Your
I'm
group of
not saying
people
I'm
who could
right
do
at
that is
all.
just a
I'm just
much smaller part of the well, fine. Robert Kiyosaki is right, but that segment of the population is much smaller, and the majority of people need to go into home ownership, like Tom is saying, in order to be able to have those benefits of why we buy houses and the claims of what
that makes
renting
sense.
would give.
For me, I mean, listen, it's not a right or wrong or me versus Tom's opinion. It's, I mean, I see a trend shifting. I mean, you guys must see it that home ownership is becoming less of a percentage versus rental in the city right now, mainly out of necessity because prices are so far out of reach for most people. But I mean,
But
if you lived in I think it's a mindset thing here in Canada or in Toronto. Like it's like it's the smart thing to do. But if you lived in London, UK, or if you lived in Tokyo, or if you lived in New York, like especially New York, I mean, fuck, people are paying 10 grand a month in New York. I mean, you could afford a really nice place to own and pay interest and blah blah blah. But the mindset's different there. Like it's more okay to do it. So is that a factor here?
You know what I've seen? So I'm 29 years old, and my parents, what they made on their house when they sold it, and all my friends' parents, we've seen the benefit of home ownership from our parents and our grandparents. So we've seen it. And I think that plays a part of it.
Yeah.
And again, I don't know. And I think in those other cities you mentioned, everyone knows Toronto's expensive. It ain't expensive compared to the cities you mentioned, right? So it's like the gap is further in those cities. So I think it's just a reality of like, yeah, you live in New York, you rent
Yeah.
because you only buy if you're like wealthy, where Toronto, you can still buy without being wealthy. So I don't know what the answer is, but
so Canadian home ownership rates are dropping. I couldn't find the article. It's slightly dropping. So people obviously, for whatever reason, less people are owning homes than they were before, and we're still ahead of all the other uh, developed countries and stuff like that. This is what I want to know from you, Tom. I'm finding that people who are younger right now are being more conscious of their investments, their saving, their spending habits, how they're going to retire, how to not work that full-time job and have these side hustles. Like I'm seeing this huge explosion of people and they're all really really young that didn't exist when I was 20 years old. Is that something that's going to change home ownership?
it's interesting. Like the way that I look at it, because what you just explained is the group of millennials that want their passive income to exceed their lifestyle, right? So that you never have to work for something. You're doing things because you want to, because you have the money coming in. And how do you build passive income? Well, you own real estate because over time, then the rents go higher and you own more equity, and that can build your wealth long term. Like that's a conversation I actually have all the time with my other friends that are realtors in my age group. I'm like, I don't care, if you have a great year selling real estate, because after taxes and stuff, we get hit hard. Like, did you buy anything yourself? Are you in the market? Are you building your long-term wealth? So it's definitely happening. And a lot of people are being savvy. And I've had a few of those type of clients that are doing so well in those other ventures that they call me. They're like, hey, I just want to rent this sweet penthouse because I got my financial stuff figured out. I'm like, all right, let's go do it. Like totally cool. But again, it's this very small percentage of people, and most people that do that still get their principal residence figured out. And Darryl, what you were saying before, because we have a lot of clients that own properties that don't live there and rent them out and rent other places because they're in rent control and it's such cheap rent. It's like they're actually benefiting hugely from it.
Sure.
So I think it just depends on your situation. But yeah, like people are savvy, and I understand that millennials get a lot of flack, but I think they're creative and
Big time.
they're figuring
They're,
things out, and
yeah.
they're not going out and, working to the older generations. They're not like the ones going out and just putting their head down and working hard. They're trying to be creative and smarter about it. So
I
yeah.
100% agree. I love it. I
think,
have young kids, and
yeah.
Daryl's kids are a little bit older than mine, and we're just kind of like, what's going to happen to them? And I think that by the time they're going to get there, like my son's got a YouTube channel at 8 years old. Like maybe it's not an income producing thing, but in his mind, he's like, that's what it is. He's done 2 projects at school, both revolving around, Mr. Beast. That was the like, hey,
Yeah.
this is what,
Yeah.
is a YouTuber that I admire. And then he did, like what job and stuff like that would you be when you're older? And he said YouTuber. Like, it's like,
Yeah, my
sure.
son
Like that's
too.
just, who would have thought of that, right? Like, even 5 years ago.
Listen, I mean, everybody spent the first my son's 14, and he was literally born with a Wii controller in his hand. And he's progressed on to, other game consoles and PCs. But I used to get a lot of flack from my parents, my in-laws, my wife about how much time he spent playing video games. And now it could be an extraordinarily lucrative career, right? Like he's
our tech advisor for the show.
But he's been training for the last decade
Yeah.
for a potential, like, even if it's a average income in that field, it's better than most doing, normal work these days. But what's really interesting is I want to go down another rabbit hole quickly, but we're almost out of time. So what's happening with GameStop right now? I think everybody is aware of what's happening with GameStop. When these same kids figure out that they can use that genius in the real estate market, that could be a huge disruptor that we could not see coming. Because if they can cause Wall Street to lose $70 billion in a few days by being brilliant and not really affecting themselves at all financially, imagine what they could do with the real estate market.
It's called house hacking, and they've already figured it out.
Tell me.
Well, it's similar things what Tom's saying.
Show.
They're renting out a place that they know is going to be carrying for more than what they would be spending. Like the one that they own, they're renting out and living somewhere else with a cheaper rent, saying like, look, here you go. I've just offset my costs. I'm happy where I'm living. I own an asset that is beautiful. It's nice, but I don't really need to live that lifestyle, right? They're buying multi-unit properties and living in part of it. They're doing joint venture projects with their friends.
So
they're
what I
borrowing money
earlier is called house hacking.
House hacking.
Ooh.
I'm on Instagram, Daryl. Daryl's new to Instagram. He just got on it recently, so he's kind of getting all this stuff.
Wait till he finds out about TikTok.
There you go.
I know TikTok. I can't figure out how to do it though.
Yeah, so it's cool, man. Like this is, I love it. I think it's amazing, and I'm super excited for the future. I think that there's a ton of ideas that are going to come out of this, and I think that old ways are going to change. My grandparents, I did it nowhere close to the way that they did it, and now the young generations, their grandparents who are like, right now the baby boomers, they're not going to do it any way close that they did it, and we're just going to see how that looks like in the next 20 years.
Robots. Sorry, I had to throw
robots
that in there.
And aliens.
Lots of
That's
robots.
It.
All right, Mr. Tom, that was a wonderfully amazing show. We really appreciate your time. Thank you so much. It was a great discussion. I really enjoyed it. We'd love to have you back. If you would like to come back, that would be amazing. We should have a roundtable with Tom and Jeremiah. I think that'd be a great discussion. But
yeah.
Anyways, thank you so much. We look forward to seeing you again.
For sure, yeah.
I think you
Good luck out there. I hope you get some deals under your belt there and all those listings up, but they're in good hands. You know right now, if you're not putting together a lot of buyer deals, you're actually a good agent helping your clients. It's hard for them to understand that.
But if you're an agent watching this, just remember you have to track your behavior, not the result. You treat people well, you do the right thing, everything ends up working out. It just doesn't always happen on your timeline.
And your clients will always appreciate that.
Very impressive young man. Thank you so much for your time, sir.
Thank you, guys.
For anybody that is still watching, thank you very much for staying around.
Subscribe to us too. Don't forget.
And we'll definitely post all of Tom's links in the description below. Have a wonderful rest of your Sunday, everybody.
Yeah, we keep forgetting this. The whole